Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel. So I have an update for you because apparently I'm as easily influenced as the next gal. So last time I posted about some new products. I picked some shimmer powders that apparently I picked the wrong colors because they were just not bright enough for my liking. However, you all recommended these powders, which are the Lindy's magical ones. So I got the Caribbean Cruise line. They have tons of different colors. And so I'm going to show you each color. Actually, Adia is on the screen right now. I let her play. I said just experiment, see what comes out of it, and have a good time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the colors, the way that they're set up, and my opinions about it and whatnot. But if you don't want to see the colors and you're just here for the tips and tricks that I'm going to show you for making cards, you can skip ahead. I'll put that timestamp on the screen and below, so you can skip around the video if you like. So she's testing out all of the colors. This is watercolor cardstock. And one thing that she's doing is she's using this little tool that has a little spoon on it. And she's picking up the powders and she's like, I guess, spraying it around. Then she took a paintbrush and she's moving it around because she's noticing that if it's clumpy and the water hits it, then it still stays clumpy. And so she's just trying to experiment and figure out how to move this color around. Now, as you can see, it's probably too much. It's probably just a little too much. But I wasn't paying too much attention. I was just letting her have a good time. So you probably just need a little bit less of the powder. One thing that I noticed that kind of made it a little bit difficult to use these powders. Now, mind you, I did not check out anyone else's YouTube video on this, so I'm sure there are better ways to do this. However, I was thinking I like it when they're in a bottle that you can kind of pour out, because then you can control a little bit more how much you pick up. And so I was thinking of those really thin fine tip nozzles that the glue bottles come in, or that you can buy. And I was wondering about that. So that might be something that I purchase and check out in the future, because that might work a little bit better. So again, she's showing you all the different colors. Now, some of these colors have multiple colors in them, like really apparent multiple colors. And I want to say it's the blue one. But this one too, you can see, of course, it's green, but there are a lot of yellow. Well, of course, there's going to be yellow undertones, but a lot of yellow in there as well. I really like how vibrant these colors are. They really give the wow factor. This blue especially was probably one of my favorites. I think it's just really beautiful. Now, Adia's been playing a lot on dry cardstock and then adding the powders and then wetting. So in a minute, you're going to see the opposite effect, wet cardstock and then dropping the powders on. But here we can see she's starting to mix these colors, add multiples onto one panel, and you can see again, very, very vibrant. Now they do dry back a little bit more muted, so they're not as stark bright as they're showing here in this video. They did show, and you'll see that in the card assembly here at the end. Now here, this is wet cardstock where she drops the colors on. I think it was the water. I think she needed a little more water to get that orange moving as well. So that's the look if you do it the opposite way too, which is really just kind of, either way, it's fun. Let's just get that out of the way. Either way, it was super fun. Now she's putting on a little bit too much powder, and I say that just because it's going to get clumpy here, and when that dries, that powder will still feel powdery. So you really do want to use just a little bit. Those of you that are experts in using these powders are probably dying right now because we were totally in experimentation mode, which I like to film because I really like to encourage you to get into your space, pull out your products, and just play, have fun. So here she's doing sort of a kissing method where one is on top of the other, and I love that. I love the way that that had sort of that unique space. I actually stopped her at that moment and said, don't add anything. Don't add any more color there. So I could tell you that was super fun. And then here she put on the blue and the pink, and we're getting this really fun splattery look. All right, so full disclosure, I'm off to the side at this point telling her to chillax. And I told her, don't add any more water because you're going to mix them. And I love that splatter look. So I did get involved. But I gave her a lot of time by herself. So credit? Any credit? Okay, here I'm taking the lids and I just added those to the cardstock. That was me. I did that on the left-hand side. And this is her on the right-hand side. She added some powders a mix of the colors instead of putting them in order. And then she just, look at this. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Right then and there, I was like, that's it. Like that's the look. How fun is that? It reminds me of like those places you can go and just put like white clothes on and you just splatter paint all over the place. How fun would that be? Oh, that'd be amazing. Okay, now let's look at our backgrounds. So these are some of the finished products that we have here. We have some muted, some mixes of colors. I love that background. That's so fun. And then we just have a bunch. We just have a bunch of different backgrounds. And I'm going to start making cards here with them. I made 3 cards in one sitting with these backgrounds. So this portion of the video is really about design features and how you can start pulling those designs together and finishing off your cards instead of just stockpiling backgrounds. Before I jump into that, I wanted to show you real quick. This is dried and I wanted to add a little more water because remember I told you about the powder that was still on there. So I just added more water and livened it back up. But you can see how they're kind of muted back when they dry. And that's fine, but just expect that. Okay, so I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. First design here is I'm going to cut that down and I'm going to really keep the background sort of lively. Like you're still going to be able to see a lot of that background. You have a large die in your stash, cut it out of some contrasting cardstock and add it to the front and you can call it a day. You can add embellishments if you like. I'm going to do a couple different things with this card. This card came together in no time, flat. It was so easy. Just cut out that love die, placed it down with some liquid adhesive, and then one of the things that I decided to add to this was some heart gems. So they're like clear, almost like bubbles, you know, those clear bubble enamel dots. Well, they're shaped like hearts and they're clear. And so I added those, and then I took my white gel pen and just added a couple highlights to this black sentiment. That's it. You can put any other sub-sentiment on this as well to add another message. Put a U there, anything you want. So that's sort of how I finished off that very simple background, very simple card came together really, really quickly. All right, let's have some fun with this really cool background here. I am going to chop it down and I am going to keep the majority of the look from this splatter one. So the one on the left, we're not really going to do anything right now with. But I was thinking about, well, I'll show you in a second because we do use it in this video. So I'm going to cut that down and then I'm going to take a cover plate die. Cover plate die basically cuts out the entire A2 size card and I'm going to be left with this really cool impression. Now I can use those negative pieces popping out if I wanted to, I guess, or positive, whichever one they are, the other pieces, and just line them up and get another card that looks very similar. I could do that. But I'm just going to stick with this card design for now. So one thing I want to talk about when you have these cover plate dies, you can still jazz them up a little bit and add a little bit more to them with some like enamel dots. If you have some liquid glue like this is particularly the pops of color. I'm using black and I go around and I outline the circle and then I go in between all the rays. You can go with glitter glue, is super fun. I've done that in the past. Basically anything, but it is using up your supplies that you have. It's adding a little bit extra contrast. So in the last card, I added a black sentiment. Here I'm adding black pops of color, and I finished this card off really fun. I added a really fun sentiment and a star die. I had my stash with some mirror cardstock that's black, give that stark contrast again. So that was a lot of fun to finish off. All right, so let's move on to my next card here. This one is going to be using a die set, a nesting die set that I had to have 3 years ago. And I haven't used it yet. So this is from Hero Arts. I have no idea if they still make it, but it's a t-shirt die and it's so fun. The t-shirts come in different sizes. So we are going to make a thank you card for my husband. So we're going to personalize it. That's the next thing I want to encourage you to do, is really personalize your cards when you get the opportunity. Think about if it's for someone that you know well, think about the things they like, or maybe a color theme that they like, whatever it is. it really can make it super special. So I am going to ask that we don't look at how crooked that puppy is for our card, and we just take the message away that you can personalize. So I am going to make this super fun tennis themed card. My husband is a tennis instructor and he coaches both of our children, and he's so good at it, and I just don't know if I thank him enough specifically for that. So I took this tennis racket, the little tennis ball there, and I'm going to just color them up and get this card sort of ready. Now I noticed the back was a little bit plain, so what I'm going to do is mask off this portion of the racket in the die cut. And I'm going to use that little circle and put those little circle tennis balls all over the background, because then it really does add something interesting to the back. It's not stark white, and it adds to the theme of the card. So think about what you can reuse in the way of your die cut shadows or empty space, and can that be part of your card to coordinate with it as well. I just used my white gel pen to finish off making the little lines on those tennis balls. And that's it. You can hardly see those, but it does add just a little bit of extra to it. I have this thank you die in my stash as well. I'm going to use some liquid adhesive and add that right up there to the corner. I love the big boldness of that die set, and I'm just going to place that up there. Okay, so then the placement comes for my three pieces here. I'm going to put down my tennis racket first over the shirt. The shirt's not adhered yet. And I'm going to put the little shirt, obviously to symbolize the kids. I'm going to put that onto the big shirt. And then that's when I'm going to flip it over and add all of the foam adhesive to the back. So it's all one piece now, and I could put the foam on the back that way. And there is the finished part. I'm going to add our little tennis ball there right to the racket. And I was pleased as punch with this card. Of course, you know when you make something for someone, and I went down and I was like, I made you something. Of course, he loved it, but you know, I get all geeked out when I get to show, and it was so fun. Okay, that will do it for this video. I'm so glad that you stopped by. I hope that it was fun to see those Lindy's Magic Powders in action, and then also to maybe get inspired on how to finish off some of those backgrounds that you're hoarding. That's right, I'm talking to you. I know you are too. All right, I will see you in the comments down below and in the next video. Bye-bye.